Today we are going to talk about the silent E drop keep rule. This is something that we talked about briefly when we were in class together. So this is somewhat new to you, but also somewhat of a review. So before we get started, please make sure you have out your notebook. At the end of this lesson, you will be turning in your note sheet as well as your dictation page. So before we start, let's do a review of what the silent E is, or what we often call a magic E. Okay, a magic E is when you have an E at the end of a word and it makes your vowel long. So let's think of an example. What about the word time? We have our magic E at the end of the word, which makes our I long. Okay, what about the word skate? We have a nice blend there at the beginning. We have our magic E on the end, which makes our A long. If we didn't have our magic E at the end, it would say scat. All right, so the next thing that we are going to do is move on to our notes. There's going to be 2 rules, and then at the bottom you are going to write down some rule breakers, because with every rule we always have our rule breakers, which is where we get our red words from, the words we can't sound out. So we are going to start with the silent E rule, the drop portion of this rule, because there's 2 parts to it. So rule number 1, when the word ends in a silent E, drop the E when the suffix starts with a vowel. Example, likable. Like is a magic E word. We have our E on the end. And then able is the suffix we're ending, which starts with a vowel. So if we have a vowel with a suffix, if we have a suffix with a vowel at the beginning, that is when we drop our E. So take a look at this word sum. We have like plus able, which equals likable. And there is no E after the K in that word. Our next word sum example is settle. Plus ing equals settling. Take a minute, look at your suffix there. Does it start with a vowel? Does this have a magic E? If so, cross out the E and you get your word sum of settling. If I were you, I would write somewhere on this note sheet your vowels, which are A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. You will need that for when we move to dictation, because there's a tricky word that we're going to practice. So get this down. If you need to pause it, do so, but we are going to move on to the next rule, part 2. Okay, you have rule number 1 at the top here if you still need to copy that down. Whoops. But we are going to move on to rule number 2. When a word ends in a silent E, you keep the E when you add a suffix at the end that begins with a consonant. So again, you have your vowels written at the top of the page, A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. A consonant is anything that is not a vowel. So like B, C, D, F, G, H, etc. So we are going to keep our E when the suffix starts with a consonant. So let's look at our examples here. Our first word sum is like plus ly equals likely. So go ahead and on your notes, get this all down. Circle your magic E. Circle the beginning letter of the suffix. Is the beginning letter of the suffix a consonant? If so, then you keep your E to come up with the word sum likely, L-I-K-E-L-Y, likely. Safety, again, a magic E word, plus our suffix, it starts with a T. A T is not A, E, I, O, U, or Y, so we are going to keep our E to come up with the word sum safety. All right, I wrote pretty big on my note sheet here, so there should be some room for you at the bottom for your rule breakers. Our rule breakers are words that do not follow the rules. Rule breakers. This is what you should title this section of your notes. So there's the word and the base word here. I would make a T-chart. So then you can keep that separate and organized on your notes. The base word is what the word is before you add a suffix. So, for example, the first one here, the base word is true. The word with the suffix is truly, except for with this word, you drop your E even though the consonant begins with an L. So go ahead and write these down. Truly, truth, ninth, argument, holy, awful, judgment, acknowledgement, and duly. I want to talk about the word holy really quick. This is a confusing one because we have two types of holes. This is called a homophone. Hole as in H-O-L-E, which is like a hole in the ground, or we have whole, W-H-O-L-E, which is like a whole pie or something that's complete. Okay, so the base word here is whole, W-H-O-L-E, which means complete. So that's the same meaning essentially for holy. However, there's another homophone that goes with holy, which is H-O-L-Y. And any of you that have learned about religion and global studies or U.S. studies or are part of a church, you've probably seen this word before. It means something that's of a higher power or related to God or something like that. But there's two different kinds of holies here, so just keep that in mind. Go ahead and pause this if you need extra time writing down all of the rule breakers. This is important. You will need this page to do the bottom part of your assignment. All right, so that was the end of our notes. The next thing I need you to do is set up your dictation page, just like the picture I have here. We're going to do 2 sets of practice words, 1 sentence practice, and then you are going to do independent rule breaker sentences, what I had just mentioned before. Those you will do on your own. So when we're finished with all of this, you will upload your notes and your dictation page into Schoology. So please make sure you are handwriting all of this work. Okay, pause if you need to, but we are going to go ahead and start with set 1. I would keep your notes handy by you so you can see them. Just to remind you, when you are going to keep or drop your magic E. So set 1, number 1 is baking. I enjoy baking cookies. Make sure you get your B in the right direction. Make your bed with your hands if you are having trouble, or draw a bed on the top of your paper somewhere. Baking. Number 2 is bravely. He bravely went into battle. Bravely. Number 3, taming. She is taming a mountain lion. Taming. Number 4 is safest. You need the safest car seat for your child. Safest. Number 5 is wider. My car is wider than that tiny parking spot. Wider. And number 6 is sharing. Are you sharing with your siblings? Sharing. Okay, now I'm going to show you the answer key for this set. Keep in mind, I'm not grading you on whether or not you're getting 100% on these answers, just like in class. It's always practice. So please mark wrong what you got incorrect, and then make sure to fix all of your mistakes. That's part of the learning process. So here's the key for set 1, baking bravely, taming, safest, wider, sharing. Go ahead and go through your answers and check. Pause this if you need to. I'm going to move on to set number 2. Okay, set number 2, it should be right next to your, set 1 here. So we just finished this one, we're on to this one now. All right, set 2. Number 1, tireless. He never seems to grow tireless of fishing. Tireless. Number 2 is icy. This is one I see adults get incorrect quite quite frequently. So go back and remember what your vowels are. They're A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y. In this word specifically, Y is acting as a vowel. So number 2 is icy. The roads were icy after the freeze. Icy. Number 3 is joker. The Joker's costume is creepy. Joker. Number 4, placement. The placement of your notes in your binder is very important. Placement. Number 5 is useful. I hope you find your notes to be useful for your learning. Useful. And 6 is lifeless. I was almost lifeless after the New Year's Eve party because I stayed up way too late. Lifeless. All right, time to check. Mark what you got wrong and fix your mistakes. Tireless, icy, joker, placement, useful, and lifeless. All right, the next part we are going to be, down here with our sentence set. You are going to do 3 practice sentences. So get ready for that. There will be drop keep words in each sentence set. All right, number 1, the skater was smiling. Remember your cups, your capitalization, understanding, punctuation, and spelling. So check your cups for each sentence. The skater was smiling, with punctuation at the end, please. Number 2, the poker game was shameless. The poker game was shameless. Number 3, my movement was slow on the icy road. My movement was slow on the icy road. Rewind if you need to hear anything repeated. Okay, again, I want you to mark what you got wrong, fix your work. I circled all of our keep drop words in the sentences. The skater was smiling, the poker game was shameless, my movement was slow on the icy road. All right, and the last part here, you are going to work on independently your rule breaker sentences. So this is what I had you write down at the very bottom of your notes. I'm going to put them on the screen here so you know what I'm talking about again. It's these words: truly, truth, ninth, argument, wholly, awful, judgment, acknowledgement, duly. You are going to pick 3 words and write a complete sentence for each one. It's important for you to, again, remember your cups, capitalization, understanding, punctuation, and it has to make sense. Okay? After you're finished with everything, you need to upload your notes and your dictation work to Schoology. All right, this assignment was a little longer than the ones we've had weeks before here with distance learning. Your Thursday assignment for this week is going to just be a review of this. So it should go by relatively quickly. Make sure you keep your notes in a handy place because you will need those for Thursday. So again, you're uploading your notes and your dictation work to Schoology for a grade. And this is due by 9 p.m.